And there we are. We're online. We're live in New York. No, not New York. So how y'all doing today? I am the Realist Philosopher. I hope you're all doing good, fine, and well. Perhaps you'll notice all the text peppering the screen. So on the top left, you have the call-in number there. And if you don't have access to a computer, most people do, in the West at least. But if you don't, you can call in using that. I assume most of you have a cell phone, and in most Western countries, those who have cell phones have a plan for unlimited minutes, at least in the continental United States. So that's a U.S. phone number. It's not my home phone number, by the way, so don't try to call me to troll me or harass me. You won't get an answer. I only turn it on for this show, so too bad for you, trolls. And, of course, if you have a computer, the easier way is to just use Skype. And, yes, it is working for those of you who watched the first couple shows and saw what a disaster it was as I tried to get it to work, and it couldn't. And, of course, we have the realistphilosopher.com/donate for those of you who want to support my show, because I need your help, guys. I really do. No joke. You know, it costs a fair amount of money to produce this show, to do this show. It costs a lot of money and time. You know, I have a job. I have my own business. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time away from productive endeavors for me to be here. So I hope you guys appreciate that. And for those of you who do, who watch and imbibe the content and can afford to donate, please do so if you would, all right? And, of course, if you'd like to email me, there's my email up there. It's difficult to see the last 4 or 5 letters because the background isn't as white, but it's the best I can do. I'm not some internet genius, all right? So I'm not some computer whiz, so, you know, I don't have any fancy setup here. I'm sure I'll get better as time goes on. I'm not that new to live streaming, certainly not new to content creation, but, yeah. All these fancy doodad letters on the screen, I'm kind of new to that, so maybe I'll get more sophisticated in the future with fonts and such. I don't know. I don't know what more I can do with this program. It's a pretty good program, actually. But anyway, so, yes, you can contact me via phone, via Skype. And the subject of today's show is actually based on a letter I got via email, of course. First of all, I need some coffee here. Extra strong. I like my coffee the way I don't like my women. Black and bitter. So, yeah. The subject of the show is actually about a very short email, and I don't even really need to go look at the email because there's just one line. Guy put anonymous. Why would you sign a letter anonymous, by the way? What's up with that? He signs it anonymous. What is that? You can't think of a name? John, Pete? I mean, you can't even use your real first name. I wouldn't know. I mean, signs it anonymous. What is this? Is this guy that wears that fucking mask, the Guy Fawkes mask or something? I mean, that's a group. That's not a particular person. But, all right, you want to call yourself anonymous. So what did he say? So his question was just a simple one-liner or something along the lines of, maybe I should look up the email, but then I'd have to open up my fucking browser and look at the email. Ay vey. No, all right, let me see. So the gist of it was, Realist Philosopher, I saw your, well, you don't see, heard, all right. He heard one of my most recent podcasts where I was talking about my family and wanting to help other people who had difficult family histories and weren't sure what they should do. They should email me, call in when I do this live call-in show, and he wanted to know what he should do in regards to his very dysfunctional family. Guy just Mr. Anonymous. Fucking hey. Give me a name I can use. Let's call you John. I'll call you John. Okay. So John, Anonymous, John, wants to know what he should do with his very dysfunctional family. There was abuse. There was, verbal abuse. And, my parents, horrible people. Sounds similar, maybe not as bad as yours. What do you think I should do? First of all, I don't really like the pay. I mean, he's asking me, so I would tell him, but he didn't give any specifics, right? I mean, my suggestion to you, John, anonymous dude, is to call in because I really need more information. you're giving me some very, general stuff. I mean, what kind of abuse? Physical, sexual? Was there verbal abuse as well? Are you still in contact with these people? Have they ever expressed remorse of any kind? They've apologized and taken responsibility for their actions. I would need to know these things. How long did it occur? Was it one parent, both parents, which parent? Too many little details that I need to know before I could really offer you any salient advice. So my suggestion to you, it's just as easy for you to call in. Maybe not just as easy, but physically so. It's just as easy for you to call in and talk to me, and you can use the same anonymous as sending an email, and it'll be a lot more helpful. But I want to talk about that. I talked about this in my podcast, but I want to talk about it in this live stream as well, because I think a lot of you watching out there have never seen my content before, and excuse me, it's almost immediate. Fucking coffee gives me gas, obviously, but I need the boost. Suffering from a cold here. It's not too bad, but when is a cold ever good, right? So, excuse me. So I guess I should talk about my family history a little bit, just let you guys know where I'm coming from, and I know where some of you are coming from, and where some of my insight comes from in this regard. So, and then I want to talk about the issue of family, and then you all can call in. And by the way, you can call in at any time while I'm talking to talk about this specific issue if you have some whacked out family issues and you'd like to get my input as to what you should do, how you should handle them. Please feel free to call 623-242-2517, 623-242-2517, or The Realist Philosopher using Skype. That's the ID you should type in, The Realist Philosopher. I'm online right now waiting for your calls. Of course, I've been advertising for the past week that I'm on from Monday to Friday at a specific time, and not too many people know I'm on now. Jesus. You're going to have to forgive me for the coughing. It's not intentional. Well, insofar as I'm doing this show, which would produce coughing. But the coughing itself, I'd prefer not to. So, yeah, I had a horrible parents. I mean, I don't need to get into detail. I did get into a lot of detail in that podcast you can listen to. But, yeah, my father was a cunt. My mother was a bitch. Slept on a couch for 20 years, a 7-year stretch where my parents didn't have sex. They hated each other. It was a horrible, toxic atmosphere to grow up in. As quick as I could get out of it, I did, So, yeah, I know exactly what it's like to grow up in a dysfunctional house and having to spend a fair amount of time dealing with that stuff and getting over it. And get over it, I did. How so? Well, got a few years to chat. But seriously, yeah, made lemonade out of lemons. But in regards to what you should do, it really depends. Now I'm going to go over some scenarios here, and you can tell me whether you think I'm right or wrong. First of all, there's this belief that you owe family, and you always have to communicate with them. Now, I live overseas, and, Asian countries especially, not white Asian people, but, Oriental Asian. Are you allowed to say Oriental anymore? You call me Oriental! Would you prefer Chink? No Chink! Oriental! No Asian, man! My dad used the term gook, so, I think I'm one or two steps above him. When I was growing up, we called them Oriental people. When he was growing up, they called him gooks. Well, it might have been the fact that, he was shooting at him with a .50 caliber in the fucking jungles of Vietnam, flying over to get to a fucking downed helicopter he was going to fix, but that might have inspired some hatred in the use of the term gook. But Oriental people, they have this idea of family that it's everything, right? And Americans used to have this very close, strong family unit that had similar ideas, but not as strong as it is in Asian. Asian people, they're just like, oh, it doesn't matter what my mom and dad did to me. I'll always be there for them. Yeah, they used to beat me with billy clubs and bats and shit and lock me in a fucking hole in the ground if I was bad and feed me one meal a day. But I have this obligation to them because, I'm alive. So I have to treat them with the utmost respect. And when they're old, I'll take care of them. Really? What kind of namby-pamby are you? I could give a fuck. I mean, I didn't give a fuck. They're gone now. But, once I got out of there, minimal, no contact, really. Until I remember one point, my mother reached out to me. She was getting old, and she reached out with those tenuous claws. I'm going to fucking suck you dry. Like I did when I had you in my grasp. And tried to convince me that she had changed. And I was like, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical, but I'll give the old broad a chance. Yeah, I was mistaken. Big time. People don't change, of course. And it turned out she hadn't changed. Ooh, she was just as bad, if not worse. Completely pathological. No control whatsoever over her own actions. No self-awareness. If anything, she was more toxic. Like an old wine, just gets better, except in this case, more evil and bitter. So, I cut off all contact, and, she got to die alone, or with that douchebag guy she married after my father. It was surprisingly a lot like the father that, my father, who she divorced. Strange. Excuse me. Yeah, woo, I'm the sick philosopher today. But I broke off all contact with both my parents long decades before they died because they were toxic people. Now, look, excuse me, you don't owe people anything if you don't enter into some kind of consensual contract. Fucking, hey, what's with this fucking coffee? Jesus Christ, I'm burping up a fucking storm. Ay. Pisses me off. All right. It's a very inconvenient time to have gas. I guess putting in 4 scoops of fucking coffee, double strong, doesn't help. I needed to boost. All right, so, where was I? Yeah, before the gas attack took me. Okay. Keep moving the fucking mic around. I'm trying to get it just right. Look, if you borrow money from somebody, you owe them money. You entered into an agreement to pay them back, I assume. All right, if you didn't, well, then they were a dumb motherfucker not to make you do so, be it verbal or written. But generally speaking, you agree to terms that you owe them. Somebody just pops me out. I don't know a goddamn thing. I didn't ask to be born. I didn't even exist before that. The point that I was, squirted into, well, half of my genetic material was squirted into my mom by my fucking dad. So, what the fuck obligation do I have to these people? Big fat zero. What do you owe these people for? These people. Oh, and they love this trope, too, that you have to honor and obey and respect your motherfucking parents and you owe them. Then they can treat you like shit, right? Then they can treat you like shit. I don't think it really matters, though, because a lot of people are pathological, meaning that they do things without actually knowing they do them, and even if they knew, they wouldn't be able to control them. They just don't have any control over certain actions, certain behaviors, and no matter what you say to make them aware of these things, they'll never see it. Or even if they did, again, there's no control. It would literally take years and years of reflection and work on their part to become aware of these things and then gain control of this behavior, and they don't even know it's there, right? So, yeah, family is oftentimes just an excuse used by people who, have developed a codependency on their parents, and, they don't want to let go because these parents have abused them and made them codependent. And they feel like they can't get along without them, right? And by abusive, nasty, cruel parents who want to guilt you into sticking around. I gave birth to you. I was in labor for 40 hours. Really? That's a long fucking time. Squirt out a fucking watermelon from between your legs. And by the way, it's not the size of a watermelon. If you ever watch any extreme porn, see some of these broads doing that fisting stuff, spare me. Got all these fucking feel-good chemicals pumping out of their brain. The moment that baby starts coming, the moment they dilate, they're talking about, the pain they can withstand, right? There have been scientific studies done testing women and men's pain threshold. Men have a far higher pain threshold, which is what you would expect, really. Because men suffer far more injuries in life. They're going to be the ones going to war, so they have to have a higher pain threshold. You know, the men were the ones out there running around constantly hunting, risk of death, possible injury. They got to be able to take the pain. What did women give birth? Once? Twice? Thrice? Men were fighting constantly and getting the shit beat out of them. Don't tell me women have a higher pain threshold. Please. But, yeah. In regards to family, I think that people need to be a little more circumspect about this. I think people need to be a little more thoughtful. If you have people in your family that are dysfunctional, that are bad for you, you need to treat them just like you would a friend. See, this is the thing I find interesting. If you had a quote-unquote friend who treated you like crap, who insulted you, who essentially was just a toxic individual that made you feel bad all the time, what would you do? Well, you would cut off all contact. You don't need friends like that in your life, right? With friends like that, who needs enemies? But when it's your own goddamn family, what do? You take it up the ass with your pants on. Why would you do that? That's some pretty rough anal, baby. I'll tell you that. Why would you subject yourself to that? I don't get it. Lubeless, no less. Fuck that. No, don't fuck that, please. No. But honestly, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Oh, my God. Just atrocious people. My parents, good Lord. Geez, let me think if... I remember one time my dad flipped out. I don't remember about what. I had to run outside in the snow. It was 20 below, bare feet, hide behind a bush because he was trying to kill me. Woo! I was lucky to get alive. Fucking A. Oh, what a crazy house that was. I remember another time my brother... yeah, he was a violent bully, too, especially when I was little. Slammed my head against a vice. Dropped like a fucking stone. Oh, but I remember another time my father, I think, yeah, now this was now this was instructive. Because we were visiting my grandmother, and just out of nowhere, I don't know, I said something. He flipped out. It didn't take much. You never really knew what was going to set him off. I mean, you had to become like fucking the Sherlock Holmes of reading people just to stay alive in that house. Be able to pick up on the cues that might keep you safe, but it was so unpredictable. You were never really safe. I don't know what I said. Like, there's any fucking thing that could justify somebody beating the crap out of a kid, especially their own kid, right? And I said something, and he grabbed me by my hair. I had a lot more hair then, so he ain't grabbing anything now, but ooh, I had a real big, nice fro curl back then. I have curly hair, you can't tell, but if I were to grow it out, you'd see the curls. But it's a horrible type of curl. It's not like the type of fucking things that Shirley Temple fucking had. It just goes out like a fucking afro. It's not good. It's not a good look. It's just like a fucking Brillo pad deal, right? It's horrific. But anyway, he grabbed me by the fucking hair and pulled me off a chair and started dragging me along the floor. That I didn't understand. I was like, just beat on me, son. What the hell are you dragging me along the floor by my fucking hair for? What's this supposed to do? He probably dreamed about it. Can I drag him without killing him? Can I drag him by the fucking hair without pulling the hair out? I want to see. I imagine he would sit up at night sometimes and imagine new scenarios that he could, perpetrate upon me, see how it made him feel, see how it felt. He was a sadist, my father, big-time sadist. He got real pleasure out of abusing people. Yeah, sick fucking guy, I tell you what. Good Lord. Jeez, I think I can figure out why my mother didn't have sex with him for 7 years. Oh, my God. Yeah, and my grandmother was there, and then she started screaming, let him go, let him go. But she didn't do anything, right? She was just like, hey. Didn't say son, called him by his name. Hey, let him go. Hey, you stop. But I remember thinking, she don't seem all that alarmed. Like she's seen this somewhere before. Yeah, she probably has seen that somewhere before. The place she saw it before was probably when her husband was dragging my father around by the fucking hair. It just seems like a very odd thing to do. I've never seen, whack somebody or something, but it's very specific. Like he's acting out something that was done to him. And that's usually the case and a lot of the time. They're not always. The truth of the matter is, as an aside, it's a very common trope to believe that people who suffered abuse as children are more likely to go into abuse. That's actually not true. It's a lie. It's just like stupid shit like, oh, video games cause violence. Video games, they cause people to be more violent. Gun violence in video games makes people more violent with guns in real life, which of course, that's just like somebody's imaginings, right? The numbers show the exact opposite. It's not true. It's bullshit. But the numbers show the exact opposite. Something like 1 in 8. 1 in 8 who are abused will go on to be abusive in some way, be it spankings or whatever. But 7 out of 8 who have suffered abuse don't. And that's actually lower than the average population. I think the average population is something like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 or something. It's actually more prominent that you will have abusers who have themselves not been victims of abuse, which is very interesting. But it makes sense because human beings are empathetic creatures. So when you've been subjected to something like that, you know what it feels like. So you would never, ever subject someone else to it knowing what it's like to have it done to you. So actually it makes sense that if you were to think about it with logic and reason and think critically, that it would actually make sense that it would be less prominent among those, tongue-tied, prominent among those who have suffered that kind of issue. So, I mean, if you're someone out there who suffered through this kind of, I really don't, it's not that I don't like or dislike talking about this stuff, I don't see the point. The past is the past, and living in it does you no good. It makes you a prisoner, all right? You need to live in the now, and that's what's important. Doesn't mean you deny the past or act like it never happened. Of course, you have to deal with it if you haven't dealt with it. As you can see, it has no effect on me either way. I have no feelings one way or another. I could talk about the things that happened to me as if I was talking about the last meal I had because it has no effect on me. I'm completely apathetic. That's really where you want to be. But to reach that point, it takes a long time. It's not so easy, and most people won't. They'll just remain angry their whole fucking lives. Which is not good. Not good at all. If you'd like to figure out how to deal with these issues, well, you can call me up, contact me, talk to me. I doubt anybody out there knows I'm on right now. Is anybody watching? Probably not. I'm not going to go look. I don't give a fuck. I'll be honest. Well, I give somewhat of a fuck, but I know this is a last-minute kind of deal, so been trying to advertise the show a lot lately. Got some aggrieved individuals sent me a message. Yeah, I know you've been advertising. You've been spamming my group. Some random philosophy group on YouTube on Facebook that nobody's watching or posting very much on. I was like, you said I was shamelessly spamming it. Excuse me. Why would I have shame for promoting my show? And by the way, he said, yeah, you're shamelessly promoting your show and you're not even contributing. What is this? What are you, too lazy to click on a link? My show is the contribution, you pinhead. You're free to come on and contact me and talk about issues you have. Some guy sent me a friggin' email with some article that he'd written that he wanted me to proofread and give my view on. And by the way, I have done that kind of thing before. I'm not going to say in what, role, but I've done kind of academic reviews of papers like that in the past. But, not for free. And this guy sent me what looked like a fucking book. complex analysis of his view of morality. And I was like, Jesus Christ, pal. What do you think? I'm some insecure schlub who's going to review your fucking paper that's 200 pages long just to prove that I know what I'm fucking talking about? No! You need to pay me, man. Oh, and I do a good job. It would take hours, though. I mean, it was like 4 or 5 hours work that would be involved in going through and putting footnotes and, commenting on the whatever contradictions might be in there and whatever... ill-formed arguments and such, and not to mention the writing, how this might be better, that might be better. It would take a long fucking time. I'm supposed to do that for free. Just for those of you out there who think, I'll do work for you for free, you're kidding yourself. It's not going to happen, all right? Just because I'm doing this show, all right? I mean, this show is to disseminate philosophy, okay, and to help people, not to fucking do your little homework projects or to... give you my viewpoint on whatever the hell it is you wrote up. Excuse me, about morality. I made a video about morality that I put on this page. Go look at that. And it was gigantic. A fucking phone book looked like this fucking work that he'd done on it. And I skimmed through it and I was like, seems overly complicated, gobbledygook. I mean, I took the time to read some of it and I could make sense of it, sure. I'm not an idiot. It makes sense to me, but I'm thinking to myself, this is the kind of stuff that I will read and then simplify so that, normal people can understand it. But this is the kind of stuff that these ivory tower pinheads write up. They make themselves sound more intelligent to each other, and they just, banter back and forth about nonsense that's of zero use to people. Meanwhile, I'm all about practical philosophy, right? And this guy was just, some of his conclusions were spurious at best, and he was way off base on a number of different things. But again, I'm not going to get into that, But I was thinking to myself, why is it that some people think that, I mean, I guess it's phony, faux intellectuals, right? People who aren't really smart, they try to speak, in very complex ways, word salad-y type, gobbledygook type, that's the way I see it. The mark of real intelligence is to be able to boil things down to their constituent parts and make them very easy to understand for pretty much anybody and everybody. If you write something out that nobody can fucking understand except like 5 people in the world, I'm thinking, and you can't boil it down to something simple and easy to understand, I think you might not, you probably don't know what you're talking about. I mean, if you absolutely cannot boil that down to, now, of course, I mean, if we're talking about Forrest Gump here, okay, all right, he's not going to be able to understand too much about particle physics and shit, all right? He believes in magic, right? Magic legs. Sergeant Dan, what was it, Sergeant Dan, or what the fuck was it, Sergeant Dan, you have magic legs. You got a 70 IQ, I guess, even the most simply broke down argument won't be understandable to you. But for the average person, 9,500 IQ, you should really be able to explain things in a way that they can understand. That's why I tried to make, when I first started this channel, a bunch of short videos, but they still took like a while. I mean, even if I'm only right now at a page and a half, it would be like a big fucking page where I would expand the borders all the way up to the top of my word software, and I would expand the width of the pages too. So and it's like, Jesus Christ, so this is taking 5 hours and another few hours. I mean, it would be taking like 8 hours to do one fucking video, man. It was like, it takes like an hour to do this fucking live stream, right? Even my podcast took less time, all right? I mean, Jesus Christ, it's just too much time and effort. But I broke down the morality in less than 7 minutes. It's very clear. But some of these people couldn't understand it. See, this is another thing that I find interesting. People who essentially are supposed to be intelligent, but you break things down into simple terms and they can't make sense of it. You break it down, it's very simple, and they're like, I don't get it. It's like they're stuck in this mode where they can't understand things unless they're very complex, or they really don't understand them to begin with. I mean, equivocation makes more sense to them. They prefer sophistry to actual arguments. It's like, isn't it just a bunch of you guys sitting around smoking pipes and shit, or smoking cigars and yammering about? And I got this one fucking guy. This is funny. One fucking guy tried to contact me to advertise on my show, right? He was talking about opening up a philosophy coffee shop. Where does he think he's living? All right, so those of you who don't know a lot about history of Europe, the Dutch India Company, I believe it was, first introduced coffee in a big way to Europeans, right? I mean, I'm sure some Europeans earlier on had been introduced to it through trade, the Silk Road and such, but really large-scale imbibing of coffee didn't really occur, I think, until the Dutch East India Company really started importing large amounts of it. And then you had this explosion of coffee houses all throughout Europe. And it was very posh and very cool. And this was going back quite a ways, actually. I think as early as the 16th century, maybe, that you had, I mean, I could be wrong. 16th, 17th century, you know, I'm good on ideas, the dates, not so much. But, yeah, these coffee shops would open up and, you know, the gentlemen, yeah, because the laborers are out there lifting heavy shit. So, you know, the nobles and the rich merchants and shit, the educated elite would all get together and sip fucking coffee in these little fucking cups and talk about the meaning of life and why we're here and all the other useless bullshit that has no practical purpose or use in your daily life. Shit that people, the only people who can afford to, you know, sit around and pontificate about this nonsense are people who have nothing better to do, right? Who have very, very decadent fucking lives, which is part of the problem with Western society as it is today. People trying to find meaning in their lives because it's gotten too easy for them. But anyway, this guy contacts me. He's like, I want to open up a coffee shop, right? I want to open up a philosophy coffee shop. I mean, where do you think you are? He wants to do this in America, by the way. Land of the free and the home of the morons, right? Who's imported so many low IQ people, okay, that all the dishwasher jobs and all the janitor jobs are taken up by all the, you know, illegal aliens, and they're breeding like fucking rabbits and lowering the overall average IQ. And he wants to open a philosophy coffee shop. Really? Where? San Francisco? The place that has poop maps? Where are you going to do this? I was like, geez, dude, really? Where? Maybe Seattle? New York? I don't even see it being successful in New York. Well, that Ocasio-Cortez came from fucking New York. She's a moron, huh? Most New Yorkers ain't too bright. Come on. What are you thinking? Who's going to go to what's a philosophy coffee shop? Could somebody please explain this to me? I remember I got some business proposal for some dude years back who wanted me to invest in a fucking Friends coffee shop. This guy had what he thought was a brilliant money-making idea. So brilliant, I would have never thought of it. It's so stupid. He wanted to essentially open up the Asian version, right? So he wanted it in Asia. I'm not going to say where specifically, but Oriental people country. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Friends was big in Oriental countries. They would get pirated versions of it and then have Chinese subtitles or fucking Thai subtitles or fucking Japanese subtitles, although, you know, the Japs don't want this bullshit. They don't want decadent, destructive Western, imperialist, socialist fucking type Western bullshit in their country. But yeah, the Vietnamese, all the Oriental people, they love Friends. They all know what Friends are, right? So this guy wanted to open up a Friends coffee shop. And, you know, he wanted to get all exact copies of all the furniture. He's watching it. He's fucking sketching all the chairs and couches and the countertops and all the little accoutrements behind the fucking bar. Oh, boy. So I told the guy, dude, you want me to invest in this? And you want to put how much into it? And he told me the amount, and I was like, you think that's going to cover it? And of course, my mind starts working through all the actual practical aspects that'll be required, like specialty furniture. It ain't like you can go down to the local IKEA, right? And get the friend's couch. Maybe you can, I don't know. But I've never heard of it. I mean, wouldn't you have to like order that shit from a specialty furniture store? And doesn't it cost a hell of a lot of money to have furniture custom made to very specific requirements? I mean, these furniture companies that make furniture, they have specific lines, right? Like they make the same table 100 fucking times a day. That's how it costs so little. You wanted to make something special, they don't have the fucking measurements and little fucking cutout shit for that, and they gotta conceptualize it if you haven't fucking drawn it out. Here's your picture from Threads. They gotta extrapolate that into real life. They gotta fucking do measurements, blueprints, and shit. They gotta get special fabric, and they gotta build all this shit, you know. It's a one-off. It's gonna cost 10 times or more. And you want to fill a whole goddamn coffee shop full of this. Are you kidding me? Fucking idiot. I didn't hear what happened. I think it was a bomb, right? I mean, who the fuck wants to go, I mean, maybe Vietnamese people or South Korean people want to go in a friend's coffee shop. I don't know. He wanted me to invest. I said, fuck off. I laid out all the fucking itemized costs and how much more it would cost than he actually thought, and he didn't want to hear it. Because truth is uncomfortable for some people. He preferred to stick to his delusions. Instead of actually having a successful business that might thrive by listening to me and the truth, he decided to go ahead on his own, and from what I understand, it was a big fucking bomb. Everybody lost their money. He's like, oh, you could invest 10%. You own 10%. 10% of what? Nothing? Because it's going to fail. Because I'm telling you what's not going to work, how much more it's going to cost. You don't want to listen. This is why I devote myself to practical philosophy, okay? I mean, when I was younger, yeah, I used to, excuse me. I used to imbibe in this pontification bullshit and, you know, getting into, you know, the deep metaphysics and, you know, existentialism, and I mean, I was just, you know, big into pie-in-the-sky bullshit philosophy, right? It's useless. It's less than useless. It's a waste of fucking time. Why are we here? Why are you here? Mysteries of life. Give me a fucking break. Look, don't waste your fucking time trying to figure out what the mysteries of life are, okay? Yeah, these are questions without answers. Does it make a lot of sense to ponder questions without answers? I mean, you have nothing better to do. Get a family, get kids, do something meaningful with your life instead of sit around and pontificate about the meaning of life and try to impress yourself with how intelligent and clever you think you are because you think you found some kind of conclusions or you asked some kind of better questions. Yeah. Ooh, the question is more important than the answer. Unlike Socrates. Get the fuck out of here. Some of these self-important assholes get into the study of philosophy just to fucking impress themselves with their own intelligence, when really, they're just insecure people. And this guy wanting to open a... Could somebody explain to me what a philosophy coffee shop is? Wouldn't it just be like a regular coffee shop? How are you going to encourage people to talk about philosophy? Starbucks can't even keep people out who just want to come in and sit down and not order anything. And if you try to get them kicked out because they don't want to order anything, they'll sit there until the cops come, and then they'll claim to be victims of racism, right? And then fucking Starbucks opened up all their locations for homeless people. Yeah, a great philosophy coffee shop that's probably going to be open in California, because where else could it be successful? You'll have to open it to the homeless, people walking in, trekking in fucking crap on their shoes, because where else are you going to open it but San Francisco, right? Home of the hippie, yuppie, fucking metrosexual, hippy-dippy morons. Yeah, make a lot of money off them. Yeah, they're going to buy a $10 fucking coffee. Nah, they're going to come in, they're going to sit down, they're going to strum on their fucking guitar and not order anything. How do you encourage that? I don't get it. I don't get it. What are you just going to put a sign up above the door that says, Philosophy Coffee Shop? Oh, so people who come in will be encouraged to talk about philosophy. Why? Why? I don't understand. What are you going to do? Are you going to be like those fucking, those poetry bars back in the 60s? I'm not old enough to remember these, but they were happening in the same decade I was born. And you go in and you would give these fucking... And by the way, if you want to see a good example of what this was like, there's a movie. That guy that was in the... I forget the name of those movies, but... It's a movie called So I Married an Axe Murderer. It's a 90s movie, very funny. That guy that was in those parody spy films with Dr. Evil, I forget his name. I'll remember it later, I'm sure. But anyway, at the beginning of that movie, you see him in a coffee house that does that, people, it has like, a night, like a karaoke night, except instead of karaoke, you get up and you read poems, your own poems and shit. I never understood that. And then instead of clapping, they all have to be different. They all have to be rebels, so they're snapping their fingers like this. I don't get that. I don't understand that at all. It's fucking so stupid. Oh, you're so good! I snap my fucking fingers like this. Fuck off. Pretentious assholes. Why can't you clap your hands like everybody else? We have to be different. We have to be special, right? We have to be rebels. Yeah. Until you become just like everybody else, right? Or you become the majority. Yeah. Now you're a rebel to be a fucking conservative or something, right? Yeah. Now the conservatives are the rebels, right? It's just, God. So that's what this guy wants to start. But I don't understand. How are you going to encourage that? Where are you going to do this? Baltimore? Oh, yeah, a lot of black people, a lot of gang members are into philosophy, right? Yeah. So ridiculous. What are you going to do? Just put books on the shelf? Yeah, I'm sure that you're going to encourage a lot of people to come in and talk about philosophy by putting a fucking philosophy plaque over the fucking door. And it's going to let people know that this is a special coffee shop. This is a coffee shop where we only talk about philosophy. Yeah. Is the coffee any good? Well, that's not the focus. Okay. Yeah, right. Whatever. Yeah. Yo, I'm going to name it a philosophy coffee shop. So it's a philosophy coffee shop. What is that? I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? I mean, these coffee shops back in the fucking 16th, 17th century in Europe, okay? They were a new thing. The coffee wasn't cheap. So it only attracted nobles. And what else did they have to fucking talk about? These merchants and nobles. They were just a bunch of pretentious cunts. But they were sold on the fact that the coffee would stimulate the mind. So all these pretentious cunts would come in and talk about this, what they thought was highbrow shit, right? All fucking day, and their wives were pissed off. It's very interesting. By the way, this is something you might not know, even if you don't know about the coffee shops. Just like with bars, the ladies wanted to shut down these coffee shops, and they effectively did in a number of European countries because the monarchs got really concerned because women were complaining, and in some cases there were some riots where they went into some of these coffee shops and smashed shit up. Does it sound familiar? Sound like those old feminist cunts, those suffragettes who in the 19th century were going into fucking saloons and bashing them up because my husband's not coming home after work. I'm such a wonderful woman that brings so much value to the relationship, and I'm just so pleasant to be around that he'd rather be at the bar drinking booze and not at home banging me and curling my fucking toes. Well, that's unacceptable because I'm a selfish cunt, so I need to bash this place up. That kind of attitude. I wonder why he's at the fucking bar. Or why they were at the fucking coffee bars, and why they found the company of other men better than your company. Yeah. As if working all fucking day wasn't enough. Again, like a lot of these guys in these coffee shops, you know, it was a cost prohibitive environment. So a lot of them were wealthy merchant guys, but they're still workers. So the wives of these rich guys would get pissed off, and they complained to the king. I forget which country, might have been England, but I believe there were some edicts passed. A bunch of the coffee shops, they were all shut down or something. I mean, it's women for you, right? They've always been a problem, huh? And you ladies know you are. You know you're a fucking problem, don't you? Yeah. Entitled. You know, guy can't even get a coffee. Although, from what I understand, from what I read about the history, these guys would spend like 8, 9, 10 fucking hours in these coffee bars sucking down whatever the hell they were drinking, cappuccinos, if there were fucking cappuccinos back then. That must have been some strong fucking coffee. Just hand grinding that shit and just tossing it in a fucking tin cup and throwing in some water. That's like eating the fucking beans raw, man. So, yeah, I imagine that was some strong fucking coffee. They must have sounded like Kramer. Remember that episode, if any of you watch Seinfeld? He spilled a fucking coffee on himself, and it burned him, and then he sued the coffee company, and, you know, he sued them, and they gave him, like, a lifetime supply of cappuccinos, and the fucking guy was sucking down so many of them, he sounded like Woody fucking Woodpecker, right? On steroids. Or me, on a normal day. Yeah. So, I guess I can partially see why these broads were upset, but, you know. Offer more quality to your husband. Become a more quality person, right? Not a nagging cunt. Yeah, we know you don't have big muscles or anything. It's your words are your weapons. Well, use them more kindly. Try being nice instead of bitchy. Might work better. Try giving him a blowjob. Yeah, I know hygiene was crap back then, so, you know, you definitely didn't want to go down on a guy who hadn't had a fucking bath in a week. That was another thing about those times. They didn't bathe a lot, even the rich people. There was a reason the men would carry around these fucking little spray things of perfume. The men wore perfume, too, and they wore jackets, because, you know, if they took off the jacket, it would just be like, this nuclear explosion of toxic fumes from their pits. Woo! Oh, boy. So, yeah, I guess I can see why. But, you know, she could have cleaned his cock. I'll give you a blowjob if you take a bath, honey. Woo-hoo. Maybe you wouldn't spend 10 hours at the coffee bar then, sweetheart. Or today at the bar. Yeah, but anyway. What the fuck was I talking about? The copy on this subject. Oh, yeah, the pinhead with the fucking philosophy coffee shop. I don't know how you, because the guy he contacted me, he tried to pretend to be a philosopher, you know, just an idiot. Another one of these idiots. Doesn't know anything about philosophy. Doesn't know what philosophy is. Just started yammering on and on about ideology and thinking that's philosophy. And it's just a tool of the mind to better understand reality, pal. Okay? Logic, reason, critical thinking. Got to have some knowledge of epistemology, some knowledge of the fundamental laws of logic, you know, good critical thinking skills. That's enough to get you, that's enough to start you off, right? I mean, it's not enough. I mean, good Lord, I think of all the time I wasted studying stuff that was total nonsense. Some of it was good, mind you, but thousands upon thousands of books. Yeah, I'm well read, all right. Oh, boy. But the majority of knowledge that I've gained didn't come from those. It came from life. It came from life experience. It came from living and using my own mind and finding my own answers, generally speaking. The problem with a lot of these so-called philosophers today is they do none of that. They have no life experience in the job field outside of their ivory tower academia. And, yeah, I mean, their life experience is quite limited, and they seek answers in the meanderings and ponderings of others long dead. No thanks. I'll use my own mind to puzzle things out. Thank you very much. And, you know, the thousands upon thousands of books I've read, geez Louise, I can honestly say that only a very small percentage of the things that I have actually learned in life came from those books. The majority of what I've learned came from my own personal experience. Now, maybe that has something to do with my IQ. Maybe it has something to do with other things. You know, maybe I'm an isolated case. But I personally think that Don't get me wrong, books are a good thing, by the way. I think some of it, at the very least, has something to do with my intelligence, and I'm sure that plays a hand. And I wouldn't say that if you're a student, then yeah, absolutely, you need the guidance of others to a certain extent. Abso-friggin-lutely, of course. But I think once you reach a certain point of understanding, it's aidful to stop relying on others to find answers and to start relying upon yourself. That's just my view. Of course, that doesn't mean that you don't, look into study. I mean, I'm constantly researching and listening to other people's content, online, right? And I know people listen to mine. I'm not going to mention any names, but I know some very prominent people who make content, and they've said things that are like, verbatim with things I've said that are extremely, rarefied, that they didn't hear that anywhere else. So it's like, okay, he's been, and it's happened enough that I know that, okay, this person has listened to some of my content, which is fine. Absolutely fine. And I've listened to the ideas of others, and there have been some occasions where, I'd never thought of that. That's very interesting. And yeah, makes sense. And, yeah, of course, I benefit from the ideas and thinking of others at times, but it's not that often, honestly. Okay, you'd be surprised. And in regards to, and the only reason that it had been something that I hadn't thought of wasn't because it wasn't something that would have come to me. It was just something I had never encountered before that would have made me have to go through the process to come to that conclusion. If I had been in an instance where I had encountered a situation that would confront me with being required to go through the thought process to come to that conclusion, I would have come to the same conclusion, you see. It's more a limitation in regards to experience, or having said experience. So in that sense, other people can have experiences I haven't had that, I've never been in that experience. I've never had that happen to me, but it makes sense. But in regards to, and of course I don't take anything on face value. I always go through a certain process of thought that leads me to either that conclusion or not that conclusion. I never take anything on face value. Never, ever, 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 ever. But anyway, yeah, Philosophy Coffee Shop. Dude, if you're out there listening, this is a really bad idea, okay? I don't know where you think you're living, but we're living in the idiocracy right now. IQs are at an all-time low. Did you know, I don't think most people know this, but 150 years ago, the average white person's IQ was 115. Do you think it's been 100? I think it was in the early 19th century it started to drop. But yeah, if you go back 150, 200 years, white people had, on average, 115 IQ. Why has it been dropping? I don't know. Life's been getting easier, less challenge, evolution. If there's less of a requirement for intelligence being required to promote survival, then evolution is going to do away with it, okay? If you're not using your intelligence to as great an extent as our ancestors did in regards to surviving, then evolution, which is a very efficient process, it's just going to, we don't need that so much anymore. Let's get rid of 10, 15 IQ points. The brain is a very inefficient tool. It's like, what is it? How much does the brain weigh? I think if you chop off somebody's head, it's 8 pounds. But the brain don't weigh 8 pounds. What is it, maybe half that? I've never held a human brain, so I don't fucking know. Maybe you need to go to a fucking Muslim country. They're chopping off people's heads all the fucking time. I'm sure they know a little about what the brain weighs, but maybe 4 pounds or something. But that little 4-pound fucking piece of goo uses up a third of your energy. That's a lot. So that has something to do with it. Life's become easier. Life's become easier. Now, of course, there are people with radically high IQs. And in their professions, they use them a lot. So whatever offspring they have, unless they marry a total dullard, a Down syndrome retard baby, they themselves will then have kids that have decent IQs as well. Excuse me, I'm going to get some water. And I got some water. That easy. Is there anybody out there watching? Probably not. Let me test this Skype. See if it's working. Am I connected to Skype? Huh. Call or send SMS messages. Okay. It seemed to be connected. Yeah, these headphones are kind of goofy looking. I know what you're thinking. I should have like a little Bluetooth earbud. No cable. That would just be so 21st century, right? Yeah, well, I'm old school. I like to be hardwired, baby. I still remember a time when remote controls had cables. It's crazy. All of us will reach a point where we're fucking old. All right? Okay, settings, audio, video, make a free test call.
Hello, welcome to Skype call testing, sir.
Shut up, bitch. God damn, that nearly blew my eardrums out. Okay, it's working fine. Huh? Okay. Well, anyway, you can feel free to call in anytime and interrupt my meandering if you like to talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. Number is 623-242-2517. I didn't really have much of a subject prepared to talk about this show. I just kind of winging it, as you can see. I think I've kind of played out all the making fun of the philosophy coffee shop that I could. Although, I don't know, I think I could make fun of it more. Why don't we just open up a fucking philosophy bar, right? I mean, if you think a philosophy coffee shop would be cool, how about a philosophy bar? Yeah, baby. You think people spouting gobbledygook nonsense to caffeine is good? Why don't you open up a coffee bar? Not a philosophy bar that serves booze, right? Not just a coffee bar. I guess you could serve coffee as well. What's the point, though, right? Don't you drink coffee to counteract the effects of the booze because it's a depressant? I guess you could serve coffee in a fucking bar, but it's going to be crap coffee, right? You know, if you're an actual philosophy coffee shop, you got to have some pretentious fucking coffee, right? Like that Cafe Luwak bullshit that comes out of the ass end of a fucking lemur cat or some shit. There's some coffee that costs like $100 a kilo or something. That gets crapped out by some rare fucking cat in the Amazon or some shit. It eats the beans, it goes through and it poops them out, and people roast that shit. Has something to do with the enzymes in the cat's stomach that make it really good or something. I don't know. I've heard it's real good coffee. I'm not too particular. Shit, just give me some caffeine pills. I wouldn't need the coffee. But I'd probably get hooked on them. Oh, my Lord. I know one guy had a fucking heart attack from them things. Spent his entire college career sucking down caffeine pills just to get a fucking degree in social sciences. Yeah, what a waste of time that was. Went on to become a fucking social worker. Good for you, pal. You wasted 6 years getting a master's degree. It's some bogus shit that's totally made up, right? By the Frankfurt School to spread communism. What an idiot. I'm going to study social sciences. What's that? Like gender studies. What is gender studies? I got to make fun of some shit here. I'm sorry. I'm going to offend some people. I hope so. Somebody explain to me what the fuck is gender studies? What, are you getting a magnifying glass, looking at some broad's poon and studying it? Well, gender isn't the bits that you have between your legs. It's a construct, you see. It's a construct, social construct, right? You hear this all the time, right, about how gender is a social construct. Really? It's a social construct, is it? Yeah. How? What the hell does your gender have to do with society, you idiot? And there's no such thing as society, you morons. What is society? There is no society. What do you think? There's some conglomeration thing that exists separate from people? Like we're all little tiny fucking brain cells firing, and there's some giant brain, and each of us is just a fucking neuron in that brain, you idiots. No! There's no society. It's an idea, a word, a concept that we use. It's something we use to conceptualize all of us. It makes it easier than thinking about 350 million fucking people separately. It's kind of impossible to do. At least for people. Maybe when the AI comes out, it can do it, but not us. Yeah. It's just a way of conceptualizing a lot of people, but society in and of itself doesn't exist. So you're telling me that something doesn't exist, came up with a construct? Oh, okay. Idiots. People believe this shit, leftists. Oh, what a bunch of pinheads. All right, people. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That I have a cock and you don't. Well, some guys, this is the worrisome thing. Some guys out there have cut their cocks off. Yeah. I saw a picture with some old dude, and he'd actually cut his own dick off. And he said it was to promote solidarity with women's suffering. What? When was the last time you saw some broad cut off the outer portions of her bits? For you, men. Never? You're dying in wars. I get this. I did say I was sick. My lungs were going to pop out my mouth. So, disgusting, I know. I need to get another cup of fucking coffee. That's what I need to do. I'm debating it. Well, the 2 people watching, or however many people wait, I don't know. Anyway. Where was I? Yeah, I mean, what is this bullshit? I mean, why would you cut your own dick off? I don't get this. What would be the equivalent for a woman? Take a knife and shove it in and carve out your innards? I don't think that would go very well. It brings to mind a story. Some transsexual kid who's been on TV for a long time got a sex change operation at 18 and was talking to her parents about having a boy over to fuck her. It's weird. I don't remember the name, but there's some kid who was kind of like a front runner in this whole trans kids movement and has had his own TV show for a long time. You probably know who I'm talking about, even though you can't remember the name offhand. Or maybe you can, but I can't. This kid just turned 18, and he got a sex change operation. He was all fat and ugly because he'd been taking all these fucking hormones, which made him all bloated and shit. Got his dick cut off. Well, not cut. From what I understand, the way the surgery works is they whack off the head, and then they cut the skin down the sides, and they just whack off the fucking head, and they scoop out the insides, but they leave the nerves, and then they just invert it and stuff it back up inside, and then I guess sew it, and then they do some kind of constructive surgery on the outside to try and make it look like a real vagina. I once saw a picture of some Taiwanese trans that had the innards, the stuff back inside. It didn't look real. It looked very odd. I take it from somebody who's seen a lot of poon close up. This was just weird looking. This was like, if you saw it, you'd be like, that's not real. That's a fake poon. Well, it looked just bizarre. right? So this poor kid, like that Desmond is amazing. His parents, these evil people who have just taken advantage of this kid for money so they could get a TV show. They bought into this progressive bullshit that if your kid wants to put on a dress, he wants his cock cut off too. This kid's going to kill himself, I think. He's like 18 now. Oh, my God. I think he'd be dead by 30. Blow his fucking head off. He essentially wants to bang some dude or have some dude bang him where his cock used to be in his fake pussy to see what sex is like because he's never had sex. Because, you know, he's been getting hormone blockers since he was like 8 or some shit. So he's never jerked off, never masturbated, never had an orgasm. So he wants to see what it's like. Yeah, you're going to see what it's like, pal. You're going to see what it's like when they core your cock like a fucking apple and cut out all the insides and invert it. Yeah, I bet that's going to feel real good. I don't think so. I think you're going to wish you'd kept your cock. Yeah. I blame the mother and the father for this. But I see a horrible future for this kid. There's not going to be any reconstruction of your dick, son. Your history. But maybe at least he'll be like a man when he kills himself and blow his fucking head off. Yeah. It's not that women attempt suicide less than men, although I think they might. But the ratios of women that try to commit suicide as opposed to men, it's not as far off as you might think, but they don't succeed as much. You know why? Because men are more violent. Oh, that's a social construct too. Yeah, idiots. No, men are more violent. We're better at violence. We're more willing to be violent. And we're more direct about it. I mean, if I wanted to kill myself, how would I do it? It's a good question. Rope? Hanging would be good. Well, might suffer. That's a good way to kill yourself if you don't have a gun. Ah, yeah, the wrists. That's the one, baby. But don't be a pussy and cut across. That's the pussy's dumb way. That's the wrong way. No, you want to kill yourself right. You want to draw the blade down like that and sever all those arteries. You do that with both arms, you'll be dead in a few minutes. That's the way you kill yourself. But women, they're such namby-pambies. They're talking about they're as strong as a man, they're as good as a man. Come on. Come on, really? Yeah, you're going to have your baby, you get an epidural. You don't feel nothing. You wimps. You balk at the sight of your own fucking period blood. Come on. Really? You're going to think you could do that? Nah, they fail. Because they try all these wimpy ways and it don't work. And then they end up in the hospital getting their stomachs pumped or something because they took too much fucking Tylenol. I'm going to try to kill myself with aspirin. I think my mother tried to kill herself after her boyfriend fucking blew his head off while he was on the phone with her. Don't get me started. She was a nut. Not really. I mean, she was just an evil person, but... really, yeah. So, I think she tried to take a bunch of aspirin. Who tries to kill themselves with aspirin? Arsenic, maybe, but aspirin? No callers. What a shock. Is Sith is Sith out there? Oh, he's out there. Sith says, I might have an interesting... Oh, so somebody sent me a message. All right. Let me read this message. I might have an interesting subject on how nihilism and hedonism seem to have corrupted Western values. Not that interesting to me, but okay. Problems there, but, you know. It's like saying, I have gout. Let's discuss gout. I know what problems gout causes. Wouldn't you be more concerned about what's causing the gout? Like your diet? See, I'm more concerned about the causes, not the symptoms. Nihilism and hedonism are symptoms of a bigger problem. They're not the cause of the problem. But anyway, when I look at people in the culture, I only see people caring about entertainment in order to escape reality. That people have been like that all the time, my friend. That's like... Well, what do you think the fucking Romans were doing, sitting around watching people whack each other's fucking heads off? It was entertainment. It was a way to escape reality, right? It was a way for the government, the Senate, the emperor to buy off the mob. It was a way for senators to buy votes. Senators would regularly sponsor gladiatorial games to bribe the mob to vote for them. Yes. It was also a good way to distract the people. Instead of being concerned and angry about the mismanagement of their government, they're all concerned about their most favorite gladiator. Ooh, who's going to fight tomorrow? He's going to fight this guy tomorrow. Ooh, you think you'll win? I don't know. Let's bet some money on it. Even though we don't have any money. Let's bet tomorrow's ration of bread because, Rome was a socialist state. He goes on to say, nihilism is present in most Western people. I don't know that I would go that far. All right, for those of you who don't know what nihilism is, it's essentially a philosophical skew that looks through life through the lens of non-meaning. Essentially, that life has no intrinsic meaning. That things, life itself, there's no meaning, right? No meaning at all. Not true, but because of their lack of moral integrity. Well, what about, wait. So that's a statement, right? What does that have to do with nihilism? So nihilism is present in most Western people because of their lack of moral integrity. I'm not seeing the connection between one's moral code and nihilism. This sounds like you said because of their lack of moral integrity, they're nihilists. Why? Existentialism, meaning of life, nihilism, morality, code of ethics. I mean, the code of ethics and morality are not really connected to nihilism, okay? You could be somebody that doesn't believe in morality or believes that, morality is not going to, or lack of morality is not going to make you a nihilist, right? You might be more likely to be a nihilist if you believe that, everything's relative, morality's relative, that morality is completely subjective, which is not, by the way. But, again, these are symptoms of something greater. If somebody was a moral relativist, they'd certainly be more likely to be a nihilist, sure, but, yeah, I don't think that nihilism, the source of nihilism is a lack of moral integrity. You'd have to draw me a map to show me how that's the case. He goes on to say, so they feed themselves with hedonism and futile entertainment. Well, yeah, if you've been raised your entire life on pop culture, crappy movies, just vapid entertainment, no father, you're not really being taught anything. You're being indoctrinated to believe everything's relative. You're being indoctrinated into postmodernism and Marxist thought. You're not learning anything that has any real meaning, any value in life. You're not learning any virtues. You don't even know what virtue is. Most people have no idea what virtue is, let alone how to develop virtue, how to be virtuous people. They think they're being virtuous when they virtue signal, but no, not really. You need something to fill in the blanks, fill in the gaps that are missing, that these people are deprived of because they don't know what virtue is. And so they don't know how to embody virtue, and so they fill in the lack of meaning in their lives, which it's up to them to create, by the way, but they don't know how. They don't even know that they can do that, so they have to fill it in with hedonism and futile entertainment. That's easy, right? Being hedonistic and indulging in the pleasures of the physical world, it's easy. Virtue's hard. Developing virtue is not easy. It takes taking a good hard look at oneself. It takes self-awareness. It takes self-knowledge. It takes an awareness of what virtue is in the first place. It takes being educated on how to develop it, how to practice it. People don't get any of these life lessons anymore. Be it through direct communication or practical application insofar as doing things that would develop these kind of virtues. So, I mean, it's no surprise that to fill in the lack of meaning in life, people are pursuing hedonistic endeavors. It's not surprising. Of course, I know most Western people know about this. He goes on to say, religion, I don't know that most... Okay, so this sounds like a sentence that you haven't really put much thought into, Seth. I mean, no, I don't think most Western people know. I don't even think most Western people know what the word hedonism means. I don't even think they know the word. You're vastly overestimating the intelligence of most people. So, yeah. I don't think most people know this. I don't think most people know any of this. I think most people are completely lacking in self-awareness, don't know what virtue is. They don't know what they value, if they value anything. It's their own entitlement, that they think they're entitled to things. Religion is in a certain way stupid and childish due to its mystical bullshit, but I think it gave structure to people. I've talked about this in the past. And yeah, other people, Jordan Peterson, talked about the pragmatic aspects of religion and how it serves a purpose. In that sense, he looks at himself as a pragmatist, but in the most negative form, if you ask me. He's pragmatism is not such a great way to look at the world, really. You can be pragmatic and do some really horrid things. But anyway, I think it gave structure to people who otherwise will have been, like today, just brainless zombies with no purpose. So I think what you're trying to say here is that, yeah, religion gave people structure and some idea of what virtues were, because the Bible does actually talk about virtue and the 7 deadly sins, and gives you a map, a blueprint for life. Doesn't really help you think for yourself any more than leftist ideology does, but at least it talks about virtue, right? Yeah, okay. Not an interesting subject to me, though, simply because these are nothing more than expressions of what's the real problem. I mean, the real problem is the indoctrination into ideology that leaves people with lives that are pretty empty. And so they pursue meaning, they pursue, what's the word I'm looking for? They seek meaning, they pursue gratification, pleasure, in place of actual meaning. I mean, that's the real problem. And that's why these kinds of things exist. And honestly, this has been a problem, before. It's happened before. It'll happen again. History is repetition. Unfortunately, you'd think we would learn, but not yet. No. Well, some of us do, but not enough, unfortunately. Okay, so nobody wants to call in. So have I talked about anything that you would like to talk about? If so, you are free to call in. The number is 623-242-2517. You can also Skype at The Realist Philosopher. It's really best, of course, if you send me an email with the subject you'd like to discuss. admin@therealistphilosopher.com is my email. I'm going to go get a coffee. Okay. Stay tuned. Once I get some more caffeine in me. sparkly day. Oh. I have a message. Or somebody's calling. Ah, Sith. Oh, yes, you can also send me messages through Skype to the Realist Philosopher, not just a phone. He says, "You're right, sir. Those are just symptoms of the lack of intelligence and self-awareness." Well, sure. Well, all right, look. People used to find meaning in life in the same ways. They would get married. They would have kids. They would save money. They would provide resources. I mean, this gave their lives meaning. This was a ready-made, set blueprint that was there for everybody. Excuse me. And by the way, you can still see the offshoots of this, the after effects, in that lots of people still see this as the way to live your life and find meaning. Like it's a universal recipe for happiness, which it's not. But when America was much more a religious country, you're right in the sense that, you know, religion did provide a type of glue and a type of structure, a blueprint, as it were, that essentially gave you the formula you needed to find meaning in life. Now, maybe some people would find more meaning doing other things, but by and large, this was the way. And of course, it, you know, helped promote the continuation of the human race as well, which is kind of important, right? Though I don't think it's your job to have kids. Absolutely not. Saying it's my job to have kids is implying that I have some kind of obligation to do so, which I don't. You know, I'm not obligated to do any motherfucking thing that I didn't agree to do. So, yeah. But that was, for 99% of people, that was the way. And because women were encouraged to find one good man, bond with him, and stay married to him forever, well, there were a lot more people getting married because there were a lot more women available. They weren't running around from the age of fucking 18 to 30 chasing the top 20% of men because, you know, I get my eggs frozen. Yeah, I've got plenty of time. Man, I don't need a man anyway. I can go work and take care of myself. I can't rely on a man anyway. And, you know, I can get state aid as well and just have a baby without a man. So I don't need a man, really. So if I get a man, it's got to be the top 20% because I can take care of myself. He's got to be able to provide more than I'm able to provide for myself. So, yeah, this was, you know, back in the past when those kind of behaviors were not possible. Yeah, there were a lot more women available. A lot more people were getting married, and people were encouraged to get married, and that was the way you found meaning in life. And for a lot of people, that's true. But there were a lot less choices as well. So, you know, there weren't a lot of choices, really, insofar as finding meaning in your life, okay? Most people had limited options. A lot more options now, which is part of the reason why marriage has fallen out of favor, which is sad. But yeah, what are you going to replace that meaning with? What are you going to replace it with? Well, hedonism, decadence, right? That's easy. And easy virtue, right? Everything easy. Easy, cheap, affordable virtue. Just run around talking about how great you are and moralizing and acting morally superior and yammering about how you're for all the oppressed people of the world and you're so great and you're so wonderful because you adhere to the present day politically correct narrative. So you're a virtuous person and you just go around trumpeting to everyone about how virtuous you are and how non-virtuous everybody else that disagrees with you is. Yeah. People still want to be virtuous, but they're going about it the wrong way. They think it's the right way because they've been told that's the right way. No. Yeah. So, the hedonism and, indulgences you speak of, it's to take the place of a lack of meaning in one's life. By the way, meaning, I made a video about this as well on this channel. You could go check it. I gotta turn off the autofocus on this motherfucker. I don't know. It's getting on my nerves. Keeps fucking focusing. No, it's fine. Why does it keep going out of focus? Anyway, finding meaning in one's life is not as difficult as people think. Nihilists are right about one thing, but wrong about everything else. They're right about the fact that there's no intrinsic meaning in life. Okay? There wasn't some creator with a needle and thread and some other shit who was weaving into the fabric of the universe some kind of universal meaning. No. In that, they're right. There is no intrinsic meaning in life. There is no universal meaning, no universal font of meaning that we all draw from and share in. No, that's bullshit, of course. Anybody that can use their brain knows that. And so some pinhead came to that conclusion, and he was right. But he stopped right there. Yeah, snake oil salesman of some kind. He didn't continue, okay, and say, okay, well, if meaning doesn't come from, somewhere, and it doesn't exist objectively in the sense that a rock exists, then there's no meaning in life. You like that little Macaulay Culkin when he found out he was home alone? That face. He pulls one of those faces. Oh, there's no meaning. Yeah, you dumb cunts. Who said that? Yeah, you said that, but that's not the case. There is meaning to life. But you have to create it for yourself. But that's not easy, right? You got to find what gives you meaning in life. Whether it be kids and grandkids or, becoming a fucking world-class physicist and getting a Nobel Prize and figuring out anti-gravity technology so we can have floating fucking cities someday like in that Alita movie. Yeah! You got to find your own meaning. You see, this is part of the problem. People talk... Yeah, religion in and of itself provided some greater structure, and it was, in a way, a defense against religions like leftism, because leftism is a religion just like Christianity. By the way, that's why the left hates Christianity so much. It's competition, right? It provides a bulwark, a defense against these ridiculous ideologies that actually run counter to some of Christianity's teachings, but not all. A lot of what Christianity teaches is socialism. Read the Bible, baby. All that charity bullshit and altruism. Give me a fucking break. Yeah. What was the one thing? A rich man rich people don't go to heaven or something like... something about the eye of a fucking needle. An angel fit through the eye of a needle. Rich man... I don't know. They hate rich people. The writers of the Bible, okay? Rich are evil, poor are good. Charity's good. Charity's a virtue. Being giving is good. Altruism's good. The poor are wonderful and virtuous just for being poor. Yada, 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 right? Because at the time of the Bible, when it was written, everybody was poor. What's the best way to get a lot of followers? Appeal to their egos and make them feel like they're not such big losers for being losers. The poor people are the best people in the world. Ooh, that's a religion I could get behind. I'm living in a cave and eating cat food once a day if they had cat food back then. So, yeah. Bible's bullshit too. But there was at least a little more structure and talk about virtue and the 10 Commandments and all, like, thou shalt not steal. Right? But, at the same time... threatening people with eternal damnation if they don't give away all their money before they die. You can't leave your money to your kids. It's unfair. Be charitable. Give all your shit to charity. Meaning the temple, right? Who took their cut? As you can see, I'm very red-pilled about religion. Yeah. But this is part of the problem as well, because we've had Christianity, Catholicism, in the Western world for so long, it's made people dependent upon an authority. Okay? You know, think about this. It's created a certain mindset through generations of indoctrination, and it's quite possible that this could be true of most of the world's population that have adhered to a religion, a single religion for so long, that there could be evolutionary aspects to this type of mindset, a mindset that creates people that are less able to think for themselves, more inclined to adopt ideologies in place of critical thinking, to do their thinking for them. And so, insofar as that we Westerners have adhered to religion, to do our thinking for us, to as a foundation for our morality, which it really isn't, but you know, a lot of people think it is, and as a way to live our lives, instead of deciding for ourselves, choosing for ourselves, to a certain extent, how we will live our lives and find meaning. Well, that's set us up in a way, in a sense, to be easy victims for ideologies like leftism. So to a large extent, you can blame leftism on Christianity, because it's primed us, trained us to rely on authority instead of being able to think for ourselves. So people telling me that religion is the answer to countering leftism, I'm like, no. I don't think so. I don't think we need more of the same, okay? It's a lesser of two evils argument, kind of, but yeah, that's what created the problem, okay? We need to find another solution, all right? Jordan Peterson running around talking about pragmatism. I think with my Kermit the Frog voice that... And I'm not doing a good Kermit the Frog either. I think I sound more like Winston fucking Churchill. But anyway, I think that religion serves a pragmatic purpose. Yeah, okay, yeah. He's got some fucked up voice, doesn't he? He's got some fucked up views, too. What a chameleon fuck that guy is. He hates white people, you know. Those of you out there that think Jordan Peterson's so fucking great, give me a fucking break. Have you listened to this guy? I think white people have white gift. He didn't want to say privilege because he would have given away that he's a leftist in disguise. I think white people have a white gift that gives them too many advantages. And they have these advantages that they don't really realize. Yeah, come on, man. Who you kidding? This fucking guy, he worked for the UN for like 3 years. Big fucking globalist cabal. It's pushing communism, Marxism. Can't believe anybody is drawn in by this fucking guy. That's all about ego. He plays to young men's egos. Tells them some very trite bullshit. It's just some shit that's... I'm not going to say bullshit. The bullshit is that people fall for his scam. It's not surprising, though. What is it, like half of young men growing up have no father? I mean, if they're black, it's like 75%. God. So, yeah, he presents himself as a father figure. He gives them some saccharine advice about cleaning your room, and all of a sudden, he's famous. Meanwhile, have you seen his kid? Oh, my God. Not even married, bopping out a fucking kid. She's like 22, 23 years old, already a mother. Single mommy. Oh, God. Yeah. Hey, I love more or less like this fucking guy. Take a look at his life. Right? Talks about how to live his life. Got this big giant fucking picture in his study of Lenin. He's a communist sympathizer. Come on. This fucking guy. I don't know how any of you out there fall for this crap. So if any of you have anything to say but you're too afraid to call in, you big pansies, you can send me a message on Skype. I'm not currently reading the YouTube comments. So, you know, I'm the realist philosopher on Skype. Yeah. My normal show, I generally have a topic to discuss, and then you can call in after I open phones. So Monday to Friday, what I do is I have a specific topic that I talk about, and then I ask you to call and comment, or you send me an email. And I would either schedule an interview to talk with you about your problem, help you work through it, find the root of the problem, maybe possibly find a solution. Most important thing, of course, is first finding the cause. And you know, that's what I would like to do most. Unfortunately, the people who have emailed me so far, just anonymous, and I think it was somebody named Derek for my first show, they didn't want to be on the show. But anyway, I'm just shooting the breeze here, shooting the shit, as it were. I'm not going to indulge you guys with, like, the chat. I mean, you need to call in if you want to interact with me. Or at the very least, you can send me a message on Skype. What else would I like to talk about? There's got to be something. Let me see here. What's going on in the news? I bookmarked some stuff. A lot of crazy shit going on right now, by the way. A lot of nutty stuff. Let's see what's... there was something I wanted to talk about. Young men giving up on marriage because women aren't women anymore. What, has this guy been listening to my content? I've been saying this for years. Oh, man. An interesting development in social attitude. I got to read. I knew I wanted to read this. Yeah, this is very interesting. All right. Young men giving up on marriage because women aren't women anymore. Sounds about right. So an interesting development in social attitudes towards marriage has been reported by the Pew Research Center. Well, I mean, we know that attitudes have changed about marriage, right? I mean, if you look at the charts for marriage, they haven't increased since 1970, even though the population has, like, doubled. It should keep pace with the increase in population, but it hasn't. So about half as many people are getting married as were getting married 50 years ago. I wonder why. So, in which the amount of women versus men who believe marriage is valuable has switched places. Well, now, come on now. What value is there to a man in marrying some nagging harpy bitch who has so much state power behind her that if she just gets unhappy because he doesn't wash a dish, even though he's been working all day, she'll leave his ass and take half his shit. And the kids, and he can't do anything. And if he does try to do something, she'll accuse him of beating the kids up or beating her up or both. And then he'll lose everything. Yeah, that's not too attractive. Since 1997, young women's high regard for wedded bliss has risen from 28 to 37%. Yeah, right, of course. Yeah, all these broads in the early 90s thinking feminism was the thing. And then they all went to work, and they found out that, oh, guess what? Men don't want to marry some chick who's over 30, and her eggs are probably dried up, and she doesn't want to stay at home and have kids and take care of the kids. Essentially be a woman. Yeah. So their regard went up because they realized, no, feminism's not the answer. I got to find a husband now. My biological clock is ticking. Young men's has lowered to 29% from 35%. That's it? Wow, it should have went down a lot more than that. This just tells you how stoic men are. Too stoic, really. Admittedly, these figures still show the idea of good marriage was never a high priority in the last 20 years in the first place. No shit. No shit. The cause of the switch is speculated to be the strengthening of feminism. You really got to speculate about that? It's not obvious to you? And the feeling that a man's place in the world is being diminished. Yeah, because, the funny thing when you try to enact equity instead of equality, which is what these women cry about that they actually want, but it's not actually what they want. Yeah, when you try to create equity or equality of outcome instead of equality of opportunity in a world where you have two sexes and one is in most ways superior, at least in the ways that make money, but you try to make them equal in terms of outcome, yeah, men are going to get displaced because the only way that you can make women able to compete with men is to chop the men's fucking balls off and their legs too. So women are graduating from tertiary education in droves, right, which displaces men. And a lot of these women go on to have kids, so they spend a lot of money on a degree they won't use. They've used a lot of government, a lot of societies, a lot of the country's resources to become something that they'll never do, never use. Meanwhile, there's a man out there who could have used that degree that you got, ladies, but you muscled him out. Because, affirmative action, right? For every female engineer that has a kid and stops being an engineer, that's one less engineer in the world. They are outnumbering men in the workplace. There are more women in the workplace in America now than men. That's right. But you're oppressed. Woe is me. And have decided to have a decided edge in the family court system when it comes to divorce and child custody. Yeah. Where's the patriarchy? If there was some kind of patriarchy, if men were in charge, which is what a patriarchy supposedly is, if they had this iron fist controlling everything, would they really let you have this decided edge in child custody cases? No. The rise of women as providers and decision makers in the household has turned some men off married life. Yeah, we don't want to be married to men. Writer Susan Venker believes that modern feminism has created the issue that no longer allows men to feel like men. Well, sure, because women are trying to become men. Ladies, increased independence and some of the older laws that were put in place to protect women in the event of the older laws, right? Alimony's been around a long time. And, of course, this is from the time when it was supposedly an even worse patriarchy. It's amazing. It's amazing. Back in the 19th century, when men were supposedly these horrible, evil, patriarchal monsters, alimony laws were enacted, even before that, to provide for the woman in case of divorce. Doesn't sound like something a patriarchy would do. Give women a man's money. Okay, ladies, you're being oppressed. All right. Older laws that were put in play. And by the way, you ladies are so independent that you're not arguing to have these laws tossed aside. Alimony. Why are you getting alimony? I'm equal to a man. I need a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Yeah, right. What do you need my money for? Child support I maybe possibly could understand if you get 100% custody of the kid, which you shouldn't. Right? That's just your way of squeezing even more money out of me, because how much of that money is really going to a kid? I don't think people understand that kids are not that expensive, by the way. I mean, once you get out of the poopy diaper phase, and if you're breastfeeding, you're not having to buy all this formula, it's not that expensive. I mean, my parents growing up, excuse me, what my mother tells me is she used to shake the fucking diapers out in the toilet and reuse them. She would use the cloth diapers, right? She'd shake it into the toilet. Once she had a bunch of them, toss it in the washer. Oof. I wouldn't want to wash clothes in that washer after that. But anyway, and put them out to dry. How expensive is that? You eat a little more. You breastfeed the kid. You shake the poopy diaper out in the fucking toilet and flush it. You wash and reuse the diapers. $500 a month. I mean, kids are not as expensive as you think. Women want you to think it's so expensive so they can pocket that money, okay? Yeah, but what do you need alimony for? You're equal to a man. Yeah, right. Your real-world actions and preferences say otherwise, and I listen to people's actions, not their words. So, the rise of women as providers and decision-makers. Yeah, okay, I read that. All right, so. All right, ladies, increased independence in some of the older laws that were put in place to protect women in the event of divorce, as they generally or not the breadwinners, such as alimony, has created a shift in the balance between male and female partners in favor of the female. Until there's a war. Yeah, right? Until they need something lifted. Until they need somebody to protect them. Then they're like, where are the men to protect me? You've been bitching and moaning that you're equal for 50 years, bitch. Deal with it. Deal with it. And when the Muslims invade, Allah Akbar, they swing the fucking scimitar at your head. I'm not going to be there to stop it. So, yeah. So this woman also believes that men feel attacked by current feminist ideals, and that a culture of hatred towards men has also soured some from pursuing marriage. There is a culture of hatred toward men, obviously. You ever talk to one of these gender study whack jobs? Men are evil. Masculinity is toxic. She notes that online men's groups have emerged that promote the option of avoiding any kind of relationship. As for sex, there are multiple ideas, with some opting to never have sex again to those who opt for promiscuity. You could get one of those sex dolls, Fleshlight, I don't know. Like maybe pair a Fleshlight with one of those like 3D headsets or some shit. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat. The Pew Center revealed that about half of the adults in the U.S. are currently married. Too many. And that the age of men and women getting married for the first time has risen for both genders. The decline in young marriages. This is another thing that's causing a drop in IQ. People getting married at older ages. Look, back in 18th, 19th century, women were having kids by the age of 16. Okay? The younger you are when you start having kids, I'm for legal age marriages, but generally speaking, the younger a woman is, the better the quality of her eggs. And the smarter her kid will be. But if she waits until 30 plus, well, she might be popping out a Down syndrome kid. 70 IQ, anyone? He's not going to be taking care of you too much in your old age. More likely, you're going to be 80, 90 years old, taking care of your 60-year-old Down syndrome son or daughter. Because you wanted to wait until your 40s to have kids, so you froze your eggs at 30 and thought they'd be good enough. Or you didn't freeze them at all, and you thought that your 45-year-old eggs would produce some wonderful offspring. Turns out 45-year-old eggs produce Down syndrome babies. Or you were irresponsible and decided to be an alcoholic while you were pregnant. Yeah. So you get to have a kid with fetal alcohol syndrome. Same difference. Yeah, ladies, the responsible choices that you're making are leading to stupid kids. Yet another reason why IQ is on the decline in the Western world. Yeah, let's wait until 35 to have children, because I want to be fulfilled. Working as an office worker. Yeah, there's a lot of meaning in that. Yeah, there's not a lot of meaning in raising the next generation of humanity. Oh, no. That's such a mundane job. Everybody's doing that. I want to work in an office and shuffle some papers around. Woo-hoo. Because feminism told me that's the way to find meaning in my life. You see, feminism is just a new religion, right? It's trying to replace fucking Christianity. All right. The decline in young marriages, 18 to 29, by 32% from the 1960s to today. Decline in young marriage, 32% decline. That's a lot. Is at least partly explained by the aforementioned increases of females in higher education and in the workplace, where they don't need to be, by the way. First of all, if you take half the population and shove them into the workplace, you've just reduced wages by half. If you ladies would get out of the workplace and stop inviting all these illegal immigrants in because you have so much compassion for them, but not for men who are scum, right? Unless they're brown and they're illegal. Then a man's wages would double. And you could sit at home and raise your child and find real meaning in life and stop being so goddamn unhappy and wondering, why am I unhappy? You should not be a woman. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so many modern fathers and mothers advise their daughters to complete their education and establish a career before sorting their personal lives. Yeah, like you couldn't have a kid at like 25, right? Oh, I just got a message from somebody. Sith. Well, you couldn't have a kid, and then after the kid is 5 or 6 years old and going to school, then you couldn't go get your education. Oh, no. Because I have to delay that for some reason, right? Why? So you can pop out a kid with 2 heads? Or missing an arm? Yeah. Sithanet says, the 8th of March was Women's Day. I guess they don't care about being real women and popping out kids and being married young. Okay. Look. The modern world has changed. I recognize that. But not for the better, okay? Ladies, if you want to be happy, here's what you should do. Go to high school, right? You could be chaste if you want. Well, what am I saying? Be chaste these days. Fucking A. They don't want to ride the cock carousel. But yeah, you could. I mean, if you really wanted to be happy, I could tell you, you meet the love of your life and then you stay with him, right? Yeah. Understand what virtue is, right? Develop virtues, have something to bring to the table as a human being beyond your pussy. And, these virtues, if you have them, if you work on them, if you live them, will be obvious to a man, and like attracts like, and his virtues will match with your virtues, and then you will love the virtues within each other, and then you'll marry and have kids, and then if you want to have an education and all that, you can do that after you have the kids and shit. But no, can't do that. No, I have to fulfill the aspirations of all the great women that came before me who essentially destroyed the modern family, who destroyed the family so that the modern family these days is a woman, and then some dude living in Albuquerque, 2,000 miles away. Yeah, that's some accomplishment. Yeah, you got to thank those ladies, yeah? Oh, boy. All right. Many modern fathers and mothers advise complete their education. Idiots. Sort their personal lives. Travel is also a highly desirable experience young females look for in their 20s. What, ladies, could you explain this to me? I don't understand this. All right. I don't like traveling. I hate it. I hate buses. I hate trains. You're sitting there. You got to bring a book or something. You got people belching, farting. They got fucking kids that are crying. Why would you want to do that? And a plane? Have you ridden on a plane? Try being on a plane for 16 hours. That's not too much fun. With babies crying, people being inconsiderate and rude, and you can't even punch them in the fucking head because if you do, you're going to go to jail, right? They're going to have to land that fucking plane. They'll charge you with a whole bunch of FCC or FCA, whatever fucking organization handles the fucking skies violations. You'll spend the next 10 years in court. Fuck. No. Pass. What do you find attractive about that? What's so interesting about traveling? Can somebody tell me? All right. So anyway, the article continues. These distractions can add to lengthening marriage and childbearing ages. Some additionally blame the much-debated millennial mindset that is considered by the older generations to be self-focused. Yeah, they're a bunch of narcissists. Yeah, the world revolves around them. Interestingly, while millennials don't have a high opinion of marriage, why would they? There's nothing in it for them if they're a man. And the women to boot, because they've been told it's oppressive and, like slavery. They have determined good parenting is a much more important aspect of life than being married. Huh? How the hell can you be a good parent if you're not married to the father or mother of your kid? Oh, Lord have mercy. Spare me from stupid people. Okay, let's continue. Marriage and parenthood don't necessarily go hand in hand for millennials. Right, the I can have it all attitude, right? Yeah. but because it's too much trouble to be with the father of my child, right? Yeah, I can have kids with him, but I can't be bothered to stay with him. Yeah, it would be what's best for my kid, but, But I made a mistake. I picked the wrong guy. Whose fault is that? All right, I have a message from Sith again here. Let me see. Deep down, even as red pill men, we care about our future, our women, our offspring. But guess what, men? The women don't care about men. That's right. He's absolutely right. Absolutely right. So millennials often think that marriage and parenthood don't go hand in hand, and this could be partially explained by the high divorce rates their parents suffered because of feminism. Here's what happened, okay? Women were perfectly happy, except for a small subset of big, fat, ugly, horn-rimmed glasses bitches that couldn't get a man, wouldn't know how to get a man, social retards, fatties that couldn't be bothered to have the self-discipline to, look good enough, have a nice enough demeanor to get a man. That's it. And these bitches, as angry as they were, the spinsters that they were, they didn't like that the majority of women were perfectly happy with what they themselves couldn't get. They were angry. They were bitter. They were envious. Sound familiar? Sounds like your average communist / socialist. Yeah, they have a lot in common. So anyway, they decided to get together. Yeah. As miserable people tend to do, because misery loves company. Like attracts like, water seeks its own level. So they all got together and came up with some silly ideas, right? Like marriage is oppressive, it's slavery, it's a prison. And they spent the next 150 years or so working hard to spread that message. Yeah, but you don't know you're oppressed. You have a false consciousness. But you're really oppressed. You just don't know it. Yeah. You're hungry, but you don't know it. Are you hungry? No. You are, but you don't know it. You might have a point. I'll go eat something. And then you're a big fat blob just like them. That's feminism. Telling you you're unhappy, even if you're not, until the point where you accept that you're not, and then you live the same lives of these pathetic spinster harpies. And women were perfectly happy. But generation by generation, this ideology, this indoctrination spread until it became so prevalent that in the late 40s, early 50s, the daughters of the perfectly happy mothers of that time were getting indoctrinated to believe that their mothers weren't really happy, that they were just suffering from a false consciousness, internalized misogyny. And they're really unhappy, and they're oppressed, and you could be so much more. Your mother, her mundane, pathetic life as a housewife. You could be so much more. She's really a slave to her husband. Look at that! She's rubbing his feet. She's a slave. Do you want to be a slave? Do you? Do you? So, feminism scared women off of marriage. An entire generation. And then another generation. It spread until these ideas, which were never true, became accepted as true by women who themselves had never lived a married life. And those that eventually did get married, they brought their ridiculous, retarded, self-destructive beliefs into the relationship. Guy comes home. He's worked all fucking day. You're at home watching a baby and Oprah as you eat bonbons, farting and playing with the baby occasionally as it rolls around on the floor in its own piss and shit filled diaper, and you're thinking you're doing some hard fucking job. He comes home, you expect him to wash the dishes and cook the meal because you're a feminist, and he has to do half the fucking housework. Really? Really? Do you see him coming home in the middle of the day and saying, okay, honey, you're up. Go finish my half of the day. What? I don't ever see that, right? I don't ever see the woman say it, well, he's got to do 50% of the housework, but in that event, I should also go do half of his work at work. No, you never see that, do you, right? Of course not. Makes too much sense. And of course, when you frame it in that logical, reasonable way, you show how retarded these feminist ideas are. But if you introduce them into a marriage and a woman thinking that that's the correct way to be, that this is how things should be, it'll poison everything and destroy it. So the marriage will never work. Yeah. All right, it's been 2 hours. That's enough. Nobody called in. That's so sad. Makes me want to cry. Oh, fuck. All right. That's fine. No, you don't need to call in, Sith. I'm going to head out here anyway. I'm very sick. Oh, I don't know about very, but I don't feel good. Yeah. That's the story of feminism in a nutshell, people. Took perfectly happy women, indoctrinated them with false beliefs. The only false consciousness was the one they introduced. This framework, this ideology that took the place of actual thinking and just made women miserable. All right, Sith sent me another message. Women want to be equal. Just leave them in a desert island for 1 week without men and they'll die, like happened in those survivors. Yeah, that was it. I saw that show. That was crazy, right? The women couldn't exist without the men, and you had like these feminist broads talking about how they resented the men because they needed them. Unbelievable. This is the modern woman, people. This is what you get. Resentment, bitterness. If they're put into a situation where they need men, take away their affirmative action, take away their privilege, because the only privilege that really exists is female privilege, minority privilege, black privilege, but there isn't no white male privilege, believe me. Take away their privileges. Take away the modern day conveniences that make their lives so comfortable, and suddenly they need us. Where'd their equality go? It disappeared into the ether somewhere, somehow. It took on a gaseous form and poof, blew away in the wind. No, it never existed. You want to know what the fucking social construct actually is? This idea that women are equal to men. That's the social construct, people. You need to wake up and smell the coffee. Need to wake the fuck up. All right. That's enough of me going on and on and on for 2 hours. All right. I'm going to head out. I think I got a fucking fever. Oh, God. So, not sure who watched. Probably not too many people because nobody called in. But if you did watch and you like what I have to say and how I can ramble on, please think about donating to therealistphilosopher.com. So, therealistphilosopher.com/donate, because I'm not a communist. I want to be paid for my time, of course. I spend a lot of time entertaining as well as informing you, opening your mind to new ideas. Yeah, you actually should be donating if you can afford to do so. What, do you want to be a socialist parasite? Like those leeches out there who keep saying, yeah, give the state more power so that they can tax people more. You want to be like that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? That's all right, Sith. It's been 2 hours anyway. Actually, I shouldn't have said you can't call. I didn't say you couldn't call. I just said if you do call, let it be relevant. But I'm going to be heading out in a second. But, well, you see, Sith, I want people who call in to actually need my advice, right? Though the chit-chat might be interesting, I think people are served better by, me actually helping people work through issues. I think it gives a better breakdown of problems, of issues, and understanding of them. And I think it makes for better content as well. Now, of course, if you have some questions that you'd like my insight on, or some issues you'd like me to expand upon because you don't understand them or you would like to understand them better, that would be great. That's another matter entirely. I would welcome that kind of call. Right. So, Yeah, for those of you who might be trying to talk to me on YouTube, I'm not on YouTube. All right, I don't respond to comments on YouTube anymore. I don't have a super chat. I don't have monetization there. The whole point of this call-in show is if you want to talk to me, you're going to have to call in using Skype or the phone. Now, the phone number there is a U.S. number. If you have a cell phone, you probably have unlimited minutes within the United States, the continental United States anyway. So you could call or Skype, no problem. The show's regular time it's like a morning show, 9 to 10 a.m., Monday to Friday, New York time. So tune back in then. Seems like I get more viewers then. Yeah. So I think I'm going to head out on that note. Thanks for showing up. I discussed a myriad of different subjects. Stupid ass philosophy coffee shop. Oh, it makes me laugh so much. I'm sorry. Every time I say it, it just makes me laugh my ass off. Oh, boy. I don't know how you could do that. And here I am getting into this again. I don't understand that. How? Somebody help me out here. How the fuck are you going to enforce that? Right? How do you make people talk about philosophy in your coffee shop? I don't understand that. What is this guy thinking that wants to open this shop? That if he puts a fucking sign above the door that says philosophy coffee shop, that people who come in will be more inclined to talk about philosophy? He tells me, I want to mirror the old coffee shops of the Renaissance and Enlightenment period that were all over Europe. Yeah, that was the Enlightenment period. Lots and lots of people with higher IQs on average than those people that exist now were talking about Enlightenment ideas. So there was a lot of philosophy floating around. That's not the case anymore. Oh, he said something. Here, let me see what Sithanas said. The average IQ of Ocasio-Cortez baristas is too low for caution. Ocasio-Cortez. Oh. I got to address this. So, for those of you who follow my content, you'll know I've been talking about her for a while. Yeah, you just boosted my energy 100%. So, I said, before she even got elected, I started talking about how that this was just my speculation based upon deductive reasoning and what I knew at the time. But I said, and if you look back through my content, you'll see that I speculated that she was just some kind of puppet. I speculated that she was found in the same way that a talent agency might find a model, that somebody stumbled upon her working and maybe talked to her on occasion and got the idea that she would make a good puppet politician. Good looking, dopey, leftist ideas, somebody that can be easily manipulated. She's down and out, but she would make a great puppet politician. I was pretty much right. Listen to this. This is some great, funny shit that you probably never heard, and it's 100% true. So, anybody know who Cenk Uygur is? Cenk Uygur, Chunk Uygur, whatever his fucking name is, big fat troll-looking motherfucker from the Young Turks. Looks like that troll from Shrek. Oh, I shouldn't have insulted him. Yikes. Ew. So Chunk, sorry, it was a joke. I'm being a comedian now, people. Don't take me too seriously now. But seriously though, so Chunk from the Young Turks started an organization called the Justice Democrats, and hired some guy named, oh fuck, I can't remember his name. He's Ocasio-Cortez's chief of staff, even though he's a self-made millionaire. For some reason, he's her chief of staff. He's really just her handler who tells her everything to do, and he handles her and writes her scripts and writes her tweets and everything. God, what the fuck? I got to go to Google now. God damn it. And my brain gets into show mode. I have a hard time accessing names and shit. All right, let me go to Google. If Google, oh, I can't open Google. Fuck. All right, let me try Yahoo. What the fuck? Yahoo.com. Okay. All right. The name of Ocasio-Cortez, Chief of Staff. Bubblehead's Chief of Staff. Let's see. Is it going to give me an answer? Maybe not. Unable to connect. Oh, you motherfucker. This is annoying me. I'm annoyed! I'm like a dog with a bone. All right. He's got some weird sounding name. What the fuck? New Green Deal. Oh my God. Oh, Saikat Chakrabarty. That's the fucking guy. So Saikat Chakrabarty, who works for Cenk, or used to work for Cenk, and some other broad... Cenk formed a group called the Justice Democrats to recruit actors to be puppet politicians who would be run by him and the group called Social Democrats. And they put out a casting call. Get this. A casting call. They talk about it. They brag about it. They don't make it a secret. A casting call for people who wanted to be Congress people. And Ocasio-Cortez's brother recommended her for an, get this, audition. I'm not shitting you. This is 100% true. So she went, she auditioned, she got the part, and then the Social Democrats, run by, started by Cenk Uygur, essentially ran her as a puppet and got her elected along with Ilhan Omar and that wacky-looking broad with glasses. I forget her name, but the majority of these new faces in the Democratic Congressional Party were connected with the Social Democrats or directly run by them. And Ocasio-Cortez is one of those people. And if you look at her tweets and the way she is in public, it's very obvious. She's been given talking points. She's been given scripts. She's been given tweets. Those are not her tweets. Saikat Chakrabarty, and there's another guy. The people that run this Social Democrats are actually the ones that ran Bernie Sanders' campaign, and Cenk hired them to run these new political candidates who he essentially wanted to find and promote to replace Democrats that he didn't like, who he didn't think were progressive enough. I just found this out recently, that what I had been speculating was true. I said that basically she had handlers, that I said that there was no way, shape, or form that she ran on her own. She's too much of a fucking bumblehead moron. She had to have handlers. She had to have a talent scout or something. I use these exact words. That somebody came across her, a talent scout of some kind, thought she would make a good face, a good puppet. I was right. So she's just an actress. She's just an actress. She's not a real politician. She's not real at all. Cenk Yogurt, probably both them together. Okay, so I'm just reading something somebody sent me. So, Ocasio-Cortez is a phony. She's a fraud. She's run by a group called the Social Democrats, who run a number of other congressional politicians. And Cenk Uygur started the Social Democrats, and he's, I believe, still in charge. He's, from what I understand, very dangerous guy. Not too bright. That's why he hired the people that were running the Bernie campaign to run the Social Democrats, to do the on-the-ground work for him. But great propagandizer. Great at raising funds. And by the way, Social Democrats is funded by George Soros through Cenk Uygur. I found that out as well. Interesting information, yeah. Gee, that George Soros, he seems to have his fingers in a lot of fucking pies. So just wanted to let you all know that. Yeah, now you can do some research yourself, and you'll be able to validate everything I've said. Yeah, he George Soros is one of the people funding the Social Democrats. Cenk Uygur started them. He formed them. Chaikat, Chakrabarty. What a weird fucking name. People that are, none of them, charismatic enough or good-looking enough to be politicians themselves, but they can find somebody who is and feed them their lines. Ocasio-Cortez is just an actress, which is something we pretty much already knew, right? She's just good at, reading talking points. That's why she won't debate anybody, because she can't think of any ideas herself, because she's an idiot. Which is what you want. You want a lot of dumb people if they're going to be puppets, right? They can't think for themselves. They just want the money. Which is, of course, why you now find her involved in this fucking dark money scandal, giving her brother money, the same brother that, got her an audition for the part of being a congressman. It's great. It's great. All right, I'm going to head out. Just wanted to throw that little tidbit in there, give you a little something to research until we talk again. All right, guys, I'm going to head out. For those of you who showed up to watch me ramble on this day, thanks for coming. Do wish some of you had called in. Just remember, though, if you are too hesitant to call in, you can still email me, and I'll talk about whatever subject you want me to talk about on the show. Please give me some good details, though. Don't be like Mr. Anonymous, who at the start of this show I talked about just sent me a very vague email that didn't have enough information for me to really offer much helpful advice. Send me details, and, if you want to be on the show, that's the best way to do it, right? To schedule it beforehand via email. And again, I'm making this show daily. If you think that's easy, you're absolutely positively wrong. So if you would please donate, I would really appreciate it. Again, therealistphilosopher.com/donate. This show is 100% funded and supported by you, my supporters. Well, those of you that actually do support me. And those of you out there who should, because you can afford to, but do not, yet you still continue to watch my content, you should be donating. Well, you don't need to be, but you also don't need to be watching, so. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to head out. Sore throat. Oh, my God. See what I do for you guys. Come on. Least you can do is donate. Anyway, I'm the Realist Philosopher. I wish you guys a good day. I will see you tomorrow, 9 to 10 a.m., New York City time. Same place, same channel, and hopefully some of you will call in to get my insight. I do have a serious side, yes. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.